I'm Ben Southworth. I work for myself, and I have a job title I just make up. I guess is about interesting new ways of communicating in some manner. And I think the reason it's booming is the UK has predominantly been really successful at this stuff. We've always been amazing at art, at fashion, at music, at theatre, and that's all the sort of great stuff that we're kind of known for and we celebrate. So I think, as we've come out of this recession, I think that's why we're seeing a growth of that. And also, people are looking for more interesting ways to do businesses. Big businesses have struggled recently, and I think we've all learnt lessons of investing too heavily in massive businesses. And so we're now seeing kind of micro businesses, small businesses, sort of emerging, and that seems a lot safer and a lot more I think beneficial to the economy. So I think that's kind of why, a kind of combination of factors. I think hustle is good. You've got to keep looking for work, and you've got to keep finding people. You've got to keep finding clients. I think being open-minded, meeting people, creating contacts, going for the sort of coffees and the beers with people, even if you don't know why. And making connections, getting yourself out there is very useful. But also doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it. That's often overlooked. One of the things I learned fairly recently that I think is overlooked, but maybe it's just me, I'm an idiot, but craft proposals that you're proud of, not just what you think is going to be okay. Really go above and beyond. So however good the meeting was, make that proposal one of the greatest pieces of work you've ever done. And spend a day on it if it really needs to, and make it look beautiful. I think that really just puts you a bit further along than others. I've never been a big fan of experience, mainly because I've never really got much. But I used to say when I did a lot of training and recruitment that I'm not interested in people who've done jobs for 12 years, because I just feel they've done the same job 12 times. I think you can learn almost anything on the internet these days. So if it's marketing or it's PR or it's app development, if you're hungry and you're passionate and you want it, you can learn it, and that's more valuable, I think, in most cases. There's a few things where you need to know where the mistakes are and the pit holes and the pitfalls and all of that, but most of the time, I think most employers will take a gamble if you're passionate and underexperienced, as opposed to if you're cynical and dull with all the experience in the world. I think people want to work with people who are exciting and interested and dynamic. I've got really into my magazines recently. I think that's a really good, just to not stare at the screen, but sort of art magazines, literature, the collection of sort of industry magazines that we have. They're all really good ways, and you get to absorb it in a slightly different way. You get to give yourself the time to look at it. But also, there's a bit of a myth about innovation that it kind of appears out of nowhere. Look at what's going on in universities, look at the research that's being done, especially around technology and other stuff, because that's where the really interesting things are happening, be that graphene technology or others. But you may not see a practical application now, but in 5 to 10 years, it will be the next big thing, or something will be like that. So it's worth just kind of keeping your ear open. That's what I think. I think having all three is essential. And I think that's one of the great reasons that side projects are important, or trying to create your own business. I grew up wanting to be a kind of an artist or a musician. I ended up becoming a geek, and then setting a company up, and expected to hate the money side. And then weirdly, I got geeky about the money bit. I got interested in how the money works and growth engines and investment and cap tables, and got really into it. Mainly because my co-founder was a really good finance guy. So for me, it helps me think about projects in a kind of that three-pronged way. I can think about it creatively, I can think about how to deliver it, I can think about where the money is. I think that's really useful as a kind of combination. I kind of urge people to find out their weaknesses and push on those and really learn. And the money bit is much more interesting than I ever thought it would be. Yeah, I don't think I've stayed in a job longer than about 3 years. I think portfolio careers are fine. I think doing lots of different things is absolutely fine. I don't think you need to know what you're doing in life. I don't think it needs to make sense. I think it's fine. I think as long as you're enjoying it, you're happy, you're making money, it's great. And sometimes we get lost in sort of chasing the promotion and the next round of money, and actually that's not the job that we're good at, and it's not the job that we want. So just sometimes if you are in that job that you love, just really respect that, and just buy less if it doesn't pay as much as you want, or trying to find a way that you can bring in more money around that job. But I think we need to stop rushing to the top of the tree a bit. Yes, absolutely. Your workforce or your employees are your great strengths, and actually they've probably got far better ideas than you as an owner of a company or a manager have, and your job is to free them up. And I think success metrics for businesses is businesses that, if you can create businesses that create businesses, you've got something really powerful. And ideally, you kind of want to get rid of those really talented employees because you want them to go on to bigger, better things. You want them to really fly. And you need to kind of create that environment where it feels like it's okay. And that's really sort of anti-ethical and anti-sort of obvious, I think, to most people, because you want to know where your resource is, but it's far better to let great people come through and just be around for a while than to never let them in the door again because you're scared. And I think that's what we're seeing more of these days. So there's a huge shortage of programming talent, especially around front-end technology. AngularJS is the big one at the moment, and Ember. So those are the sorts of skills that are definitely attracting talent. Apple have introduced a new Swift programming language, so there's definitely a huge opportunity there. There's always a need for great content. There's always really a need for really great photographers, designers, writers. Writing seems to be the one that we're not doing enough to celebrate at the moment in our industry. Great writing is something of incredible joy and needs to be honoured and respected a bit more. So I think a mixture of programming and great content production, and also just kind of wacky ideas. There's never enough good wacky ideas.
Source LF are London's leading creative communications and media recruitment agency. Be sure to like our video and subscribe to this channel. Take the moment to watch another of our videos on screen now.